Can I sing for some food?" The quiet voice cut through the sophisticated hum of the Grandview Plaza like a discordant note in a perfect symphony. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Wine glasses froze halfway to painted lips. The entire entrance hall of the exclusive Restaurant Week Gala seemed to hold its breath. Maya Chen stood just inside the towering glass doors, rain streaming from her oversized jacket onto the pristine marble floor. Each droplet caught the light from the crystal chandeliers above, creating tiny pools that reflected the opulence surrounding her, a stark contrast to the 16-year-old girl who had created them. "Just one song," she continued, her dark eyes scanning the crowd of designer gowns and perfectly tailored tuxedos. "That's all I'm asking." The crowd turned as one, their expressions shifting like a wave, curiosity melting into recognition, recognition hardening into disdain. A woman in a silver evening gown actually wrinkled her nose, clutching her champagne flute closer to her chest. A man in a navy tuxedo instinctively pulled his wife back 2 steps, as if poverty itself were contagious and might transfer through mere proximity. Maya's worn sneakers squeaked against the marble as she took one tentative step forward. Her oversized jacket, 3 sizes too large, probably donated, hung from her thin frame like a shroud. Her hair, plastered to her face by the rain, dripped steadily onto shoulders that somehow remained squared despite everything. From the center of the gathering, a figure emerged with measured, deliberate steps. Dominic Ashworth, 52 years of success etched into every line of his designer suit, approached with the confidence of a man who had never been told no. His restaurants had collectively earned 3 Michelin stars. His face appeared regularly on cooking competition shows, where he prided himself on his refined palate and his ability to recognize quality at first glance. He stopped 3 feet from Maya, maintaining the distance one might keep from something unpleasant, and smiled. The kind of smile a cat gives a cornered mouse. "Young lady," he said, his voice dripping with practiced condescension that made several guests smirk in anticipation. "This is a private event. There's a soup kitchen on 5th Street that can help you. I suggest you head there before security needs to escort you out." Maya's eyes remained steady, meeting his without flinching. There was something in her stillness, a quiet dignity that seemed utterly out of place in someone who should have been cowering with embarrassment. "I just want to sing," she repeated, her voice gaining an unexpected firmness. "One song in exchange for a plate of food. That's all." Laughter began to ripple through the crowd like poison spreading through water. "She thinks she can perform here," whispered a platinum-haired woman to her companion, loud enough to ensure Maya heard every word. "As if we're running some kind of talent show for strays." "It's almost adorable," added another voice, dripping with false pity. "These kids watch one episode of a singing competition and think they can just walk into any venue and perform." But Maya didn't look down. She didn't shuffle her feet or tug nervously at her jacket. There was something in her posture, spine straight despite the weight of sodden clothes, shoulders back despite the crushing judgment, that made a few people at the back of the hall shift uncomfortably. Near the ice sculpture of a leaping dolphin, Dr. Helen Vasquez watched the scene unfold with growing discomfort. As one of the nation's most renowned vocal coaches, she had trained several current Metropolitan Opera stars, and she had developed an instinct for recognizing potential. Something about the girl's stance caught her attention. The way Maya stood, spine naturally aligned, shoulders relaxed rather than hunched, chin at a precise angle. These weren't the habits of someone who had never performed. These were the results of years of disciplined training. Dominic sensed the crowd's appetite for entertainment, and his smile widened. This unexpected interruption could actually enhance the evening. A memorable anecdote about the time some homeless girl tried to crash Restaurant Week. The story would make excellent social media content. "You know what?" he said, his voice rising to ensure everyone could hear. "This could be interesting." He turned to address the assembled guests, spreading his arms like a ringmaster introducing the next act. "Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we have an impromptu performer this evening. And since we're all here to celebrate culinary arts and support youth programs—" He paused for the ironic laughter he knew would come, and it did, right on cue. "Perhaps we should give our young artist here a chance to entertain us." The crowd drew closer, sensing the spectacle about to unfold. Phones began emerging from designer clutches and suit pockets. This was going to be social media gold, the kind of cringe-worthy failure that would trend for days. But Dr. Vasquez noticed something else. As Dominic spoke and the crowd pressed in with their judgment and their phones, Maya's hands moved unconsciously to her sides. Not clenched in nervous fists, but open and relaxed, positioned precisely the way opera singers held them to support proper diaphragm work. That wasn't nervousness. That was preparation. Dominic's smile took on a cruel edge as he turned back to Maya. "Very well, dear. Let's make this memorable." If you're ready to see how true talent silences prejudice and transforms mockery into stunned silence, stay with us. Because what happens next will change everything these people think they know about worth, dignity, and the price of judging by appearance alone. "But let's establish some ground rules," Dominic announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to controlling every room he entered. "You can sing, but I choose the song. And when you fail, because let's be honest, you will fail, you leave immediately and never return to any establishment in this plaza. Security will have your photograph." He turned to his assistant, a thin man named Gerald, who managed his flagship restaurant. "Gerald, what would be appropriately challenging for our young performer?" Gerald's smile was razor-sharp. "How about Nessun Dorma, the Pavarotti version? If she truly has any training, she should at least recognize one of the most famous opera arias ever written." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Phones emerged like weapons, angled, and ready to capture the impending disaster. Nessun Dorma was notoriously difficult, a tenor aria requiring extraordinary power, control, and breath support. Even trained singers struggled with its climactic high notes. "Perfect," Dominic said, "and when you fail, you'll apologize to everyone here for wasting their valuable time and disrupting our evening." Maya nodded slowly, and the movement sent a chill through Dr. Vasquez. There was no trembling, no hesitation, no sign of the anxiety that should accompany such public humiliation. The girl's eyes remained calm, almost distant, as if she were somewhere else entirely. "When they try to diminish you, let your voice speak truth." Her mother's words echoed across years and an ocean. Ji-won Chen, whose own opera career had ended with a devastating injury at 28, had poured everything into her daughter. 12 years at the Seoul Vocal Academy. Perfect pitch developed by age 4. Technique refined through thousands of hours at her mother's side. Then sudden death. An uncle in America who viewed her as a burden. Abandonment. 6 months navigating foster care and shelters, carrying nothing but the voice her mother had gifted her, and memories that felt increasingly like fever dreams. 5 minutes before she runs off crying, someone whispered nearby. "I'm giving her 2, another voice answered with cruel certainty. Before we continue, Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's go on. Dr. Vasquez studied Maya's breathing pattern, the subtle expansion of the ribcage, the controlled rhythm. That wasn't panic breathing. That was centering technique used by professional vocalists before major performances. This is the 7th location, Maya thought, feeling the small recording device hidden beneath her collar. The cameras are rolling. They always choose cruelty when they think no one important is watching. Dominic gestured grandly toward the small stage where a jazz quartet had performed earlier. "Please," he said, his smile venomous with anticipated victory. "Entertain us." Maya walked toward the stage with steps that made Dr. Vasquez's breath catch. Each movement was measured, controlled, deliberate, not the shuffle of someone terrified, but the purposeful gait of a performer who had done this before. The crowd watched with phones raised, anticipation mixing with schadenfreude. They were ready to capture viral content, the kind of spectacular failure that would dominate their social media feeds for days. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward, analyzing every detail. The girl's carriage was impeccable, head balanced perfectly over spine, shoulders released rather than raised, weight distributed evenly. These weren't things you learned from watching videos. These were markers drilled in through years of professional training. Nessun Dorma can be adapted for soprano with proper technique, my darling. The emotion is what matters, not the gender of the voice. 8 years old, Seoul Arts Center, 800 people in the audience. Her mother's hand on her shoulder, steadying her before she walked onto that vast stage for the first time. Maya had performed this aria 17 times before her world collapsed. She reached the microphone and didn't ask for accompaniment or a backing track. Instead, she closed her eyes and took 3 deep, deliberate breaths, the kind of diaphragmatic breathing that opera singers use to center themselves before major performances. That breathing pattern, Dr. Vasquez whispered to her colleague beside her, a piano professor from the local university. "That's conservatory-level training." "Probably saw it on YouTube," he replied dismissively. "Kids can mimic anything these days." But Dr. Vasquez noticed Maya's hands, open, relaxed at her sides, positioned to support the intense diaphragm work required for operatic singing, not clenched in nervous fists, not fidgeting, prepared. What the crowd couldn't see was the small lapel pin hidden beneath Maya's jacket collar, a recording device transmitting to 3 separate locations. Behind the wine display, a camera captured every angle. In the centerpiece flower arrangement, a microphone recorded every whispered cruelty. At table 12, a documentary producer sat disguised as an ordinary guest, monitoring everything. This was the 7th location. Boston, Chicago, Miami, Seattle, Portland, Denver, all the same pattern. Wealthy people claiming to support youth programs while actively humiliating talented young people who didn't fit their expectations. The irony was never lost on Maya. Events raising money for youth employment that treated actual youth with contempt. "Let's see if she even knows where to start," Dominic said loudly, playing to his audience. "Someone should stop this before she embarrasses herself further," a woman added, though her phone remained raised, eager to capture every moment. Dr. Vasquez suddenly straightened, her eyes widening. "Wait, that stance, the way she's positioned her jaw. I've only seen that in—" Maya opened her mouth. The first note emerged like crystal shattering the air. The note hung in the air like a declaration of war. Crystal pure, powerful, impossibly controlled. Every conversation died instantly. Wine glasses froze mid-air. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. The entire hall became a tableau of shock. This wasn't the hesitant amateur sound they'd expected. This was a professional attack. Perfect pitch, controlled resonance, the kind of vocal quality that took years to develop. Dr. Vasquez's hand flew to her mouth, her face cycling through recognition, shock, and utter disbelief. Dominic's confident smile faltered, uncertainty flickering across his features for the first time that evening. This wasn't supposed to be happening. Maya moved into the opening phrases, and the Italian flowed from her lips with flawless pronunciation. Non piango più. Each word shaped with proper operatic technique. The lifted soft palate, the forward placement, the supported tone that seemed to fill every corner of the vast space effortlessly. Her breath support was impeccable. Her vibrato, natural and controlled. Her dynamic range moved from whispered intimacy to soaring power without a single crack or strain. Every note carries emotion, my darling. Sing from your soul, not just your throat. Let them hear your truth. Her mother's voice, as clear as if she were standing beside her. Every lesson, every gentle correction, every moment spent at that old upright piano in their soul apartment, learning that music wasn't about perfection. It was about truth. Guests began lowering their phones, no longer recording anticipated mockery, but genuine artistry. What had started as schadenfreude was transforming into something else entirely. Uncomfortable recognition that they had catastrophically misjudged what stood before them. Dr. Vasquez pushed through the crowd, her professional instincts overriding social protocol. "That's not possible," she whispered urgently to her colleague. "That level of training takes years, decades of foundation." The piano professor nodded slowly, his earlier dismissiveness evaporating. "That's conservatory technique. European trained, maybe Asian. Listen to that placement. It's not Western pop style." From the kitchen, chefs and waiters emerged, drawn by a sound that transcended social boundaries. Even they recognized something extraordinary was happening. Maya navigated the aria's tricky melodic runs with effortless precision, her voice growing stronger and more commanding with each phrase. The wet jacket clinging to her frame was forgotten. Her rain-soaked hair didn't matter. Only the voice mattered now. Only the truth it carried. "Is this a prank?" one guest whispered, genuine confusion replacing cruelty. "Who is she really?" Gerald glanced nervously at Dominic, whose face had darkened from confident superiority to something approaching dread. This humiliation was backfiring spectacularly. Memory flooded through Maya with each sustained note, her mother's hands guiding her posture, the smell of kimchi cooking while they practiced, the view from their apartment window of Seoul's glittering skyline, the pride in her mother's eyes when she finally mastered this very area. Music is truth. It cannot lie. It reveals who we really are, both the singer and the listener. Dr. Vasquez felt tears prickling her eyes. She's performing at near professional level. This child has had elite training, world-class training. Maya's voice continued to build, approaching the aria's most challenging section, the climactic high notes that separated competent singers from extraordinary ones, the passage that would make or break everything. The musical tension coiled like a spring as Maya approached the aria's famous climax. Every trained musician in the room recognized what was coming, the moment where singers either soared or shattered. Dr. Vasquez held her breath, her fingers unconsciously gripping her colleague's arm. If she can hit these notes cleanly. Maya's preparation was visible to anyone who knew what to look for. The subtle expansion of her ribcage, the infinitesimal adjustment of posture, the complete focus that narrowed the world to nothing but the music and the truth it carried. Vincero! The word exploded from her with such power, such crystalline clarity, that several guests actually stepped back. The high B-flat rang through the hall effortlessly, perfectly supported, without a hint of strain. This wasn't just hitting notes. This was interpretation, emotional depth, lived experience compressed into a single sustained moment of pure artistry. Dominic's face had gone pale, the blood draining as he realized his cruel trap was detonating in his hands. "Sir, this is—" "She's actually," Gerald whispered, unable to finish the sentence. "Vincero!" The second cry was even stronger, building towards the final climax with controlled power that made the chandeliers seem to vibrate in sympathy. From the kitchen doorway, the staff began applauding, unable to contain themselves. They recognized greatness when they heard it, regardless of packaging. Dr. Vasquez felt tears streaming down her face. 30 years in this business, training opera stars and Broadway legends, and she had rarely witnessed raw talent of this magnitude emerging from such impossible circumstances. Maya sustained the final phrase with professional control that should have been impossible for someone her age. Breath support perfect, no wavering, no strain, just pure technique married to profound emotion. The concluding note held and held, powerful and clear, seemingly endless. When she finally released it, her hands remained properly positioned, her breath still controlled. A masterclass in vocal technique disguised as a 16-year-old in a rain-soaked jacket. Absolute silence filled the hall for 3 heartbeats. Then Dr. Vasquez's hands came together in thunderous applause, and the dam broke. The ovation erupted like a physical force, rising from every corner of the room. Even the harshest critics couldn't deny what they had just witnessed. Phones were still recording, but now they captured triumph instead of the expected failure. People rose to their feet. First one, then clusters, then everyone except Dominic, who remained frozen in his chair, trapped by his own cruelty. Maya offered a slight bow, her expression composed, controlled. No smile of victory, no gloating, just quiet dignity that somehow made her seem older than any of them. "Who trained you?" someone shouted over the applause. "Where did you study?" "That was extraordinary. Are you performing anywhere?" Dr. Vasquez pushed through the crowd, professional decorum abandoned. "Child, I must know. Who was your teacher?" Maya's dark eyes swept across the crowd and found Dominic, still pale and paralyzed. Her gaze held his for a long moment, level, observant, revealing nothing. "My mother taught me," she said simply, her voice carrying despite its quietness. And something in her tone, something knowing, something purposeful, suggested that far more revelations were yet to come. "Your mother?" Dr. Vasquez pressed, moving closer. "What's her name? Where did she train?" "Ji-won Chen," Maya said clearly. "She trained at the Korean National Opera." Recognition flashed across Dr. Vasquez's face like lightning, her eyes widening. "Ji-won Chen. My God. I heard her sing once in Seoul, 1998. She was magnificent. One of the most promising sopranos of her generation." "She was," Maya confirmed, something softening in her voice. "Until a stage accident ended her career at 28. She poured everything into teaching me after that. From age 4, I trained with her. 12 years at the Seoul Vocal Academy. I was scheduled to audition for the National Opera Youth Program when she died suddenly 2 years ago." The crowd's energy shifted palpably. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Guilty faces emerged from the sea of designer clothes. Sent to an uncle in America who viewed me as a burden, Maya continued, her voice steady. He disappeared 6 months ago. Since then, foster system, temporary shelters, no access to training or performances. The woman in the silver gown covered her mouth. My God, we treated her like... We didn't know, the man in the tuxedo muttered weakly. Maya's gaze swept across them. Would it have mattered if you knew? Should kindness require credentials? The question hung like an accusation. Dominic attempted recovery, his voice strained. Well, clearly there's been a misunderstanding. Let me arrange that meal. I don't want your charity now. Maya cut him off, each word precise. I wanted human decency before. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. Please, let me help you. Training? Connections? Scholarship opportunities? I have resources. Maya's expression showed gratitude, but remained guarded, as if she were calculating something. Sir, maybe we should just... Gerald whispered nervously. This is my event, Dominic snapped. I'll handle this. Another guest called out. Dominic, you offered her a meal. Honor your word, at least. Pride wounded, Dominic straightened. Of course. Gerald, arrange a table. But Maya remained standing, her posture shifting subtly. Before I eat, there's something everyone should know. The crowd leaned in collectively, sensing another revelation lurking beneath the surface. Dr. Vasquez's brow furrowed. What is it, child? Maya reached slowly into her jacket, and the entire dynamic in the room was about to shift again. Maya's hand emerged from her jacket, holding a small recording device, detaching it from the lapel pin beneath her collar. When she spoke again, the submissive tone had vanished entirely, replaced with confident clarity. My name is Maya Chen, and I'm not just a homeless girl. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Feet shifted. Uncertain glances exchanged. I'm the lead subject of an independent documentary about class prejudice and barriers facing talented youth in America. The blood drained from Dominic's face as reality began to dawn. This gala has been recorded from 7 different angles. Maya pointed calmly. Camera behind the wine display. Microphone in the centerpiece flowers. A woman stood from table 12, holding up a crew badge. Producer, Voices They Ignore documentary project. 2 cameramen emerged from hidden positions, professional equipment suddenly visible. Panic spread like wildfire, guests spinning around frantically, checking for cameras, calculating exposure. Sir, did you know about this? Gerald whispered urgently. This is illegal, Dominic sputtered. You can't film us without consent. The producer's voice carried across the hall. Actually, the venue contract explicitly mentions documentary filming potential. Everyone signed image releases with their ticket purchase. Fine print. Paragraph 7. Maya continued, her voice cutting through the rising chaos. This is the 7th location. Restaurant Week in Boston, Chicago, Miami, Seattle, Portland, Denver. All filmed. The same pattern everywhere. Wealthy people claiming to support youth programs while humiliating actual talented young people. Dr. Vasquez stood frozen, her expression conflicted. Impressed by the project's audacity, mortified by her colleagues' behavior. What are you going to do with this footage? The woman in silver demanded, her voice shaking. It's already edited, Maya replied calmly. National broadcast in 2 weeks. PBS primetime special. Fresh panic erupted. Guests began calculating social consequences, career impacts, reputation damage. There's also a YouTube channel, Maya added, Voices They Ignore. Our last video from Boston has 3.2 million views, trending on 3 platforms, picked up by CNN, NBC, The Guardian. Now wait, let's talk about this reasonably, Dominic began, desperation creeping into his voice. Like you talk to me reasonably? Maya interrupted. When you called this entertainment? When? You made sport of humiliating someone asking for food? The accusation hung in the air, undeniable. Every cruel word, every dismissive gesture, every mocking laugh, all recorded in high definition with perfect audio. Maya's eyes swept across the crowd one final time. Tomorrow, everyone will see exactly who you are when you think no one important is watching. This is entrapment. Dominic's voice rose, desperate for control. You deliberately deceived us. I asked for kindness, Maya replied, her voice steady as steel. You chose cruelty. I didn't deceive you. I revealed you. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her professional reputation suddenly secondary to truth. She's right, Dominic. Everything I witnessed was your choice, your words, your setup. Dominic rounded on her, eyes wild. You're defending this? She made fools of us all. You made fools of yourselves, Maya corrected, addressing the entire crowd now. I just documented it. Her voice strengthened, filling the space as powerfully as her singing had. This event raises money for youth employment programs, yet when actual talented youth appears, you mock her, humiliate her, use her for entertainment. We didn't know you were talented, the woman in silver protested weakly. Maya's next words fell like a guillotine blade. Should you have to know I'm talented to treat me with basic human dignity? Silence. The question hung unanswered because there was no good answer. My mother told me music reveals truth. It doesn't lie. Maya's gaze swept across guilty faces. Tonight, music revealed my truth, but this recording reveals yours. She turned to Dominic directly. You judge food, Mr. Ashworth. You pride yourself on recognizing quality, on seeing what others miss. The parallel was surgical. But you couldn't recognize talent when it stood dripping in front of you, because you weren't looking at my abilities. You were looking at my appearance, making assumptions based on a wet jacket and worn shoes. She's right, Dr. Vasquez admitted quietly. I almost missed it too, until I saw the technical markers. We're all guilty of judging the packaging instead of the content. Sir, we should issue an apology statement. Gerald tried desperately. Your apology won't matter, Maya interrupted. Your actions already spoke, louder than any statement ever could. She addressed the crowd one final time. We're showing wealthy people who claim to help youth but actually treat talented young people with contempt when they don't fit expected molds. 7 cities. Same result. People who donate to look good but show their true colors when tested. Dominic's defense crumbled. We were just having fun. I would have given you the meal eventually. Dignity isn't something you earn with performance, Maya said quietly. It's something you owe every human being, regardless of what they can do for you. She turned toward the exit. Keep your meal, Mr. Ashworth. I learned what I came to learn. Wait, Dr. Vasquez called out, genuine urgency in her voice. Please, let me help. Not because of the cameras, because you deserve it. Because talent like yours shouldn't be lost to circumstance. Maya paused, considering, then nodded slightly, a gesture that suggested possibility rather than promise. As she walked out with quiet triumph, Dominic remained frozen, the full weight of impending national humiliation finally settling on his shoulders like a death sentence. The television screen glowed in the darkness, displaying the PBS logo followed by bold text, Voices They Ignore, a documentary series. Tonight's episode features Maya Chen and the Restaurant Week exposé that sparked a national conversation about class, prejudice, and who gets access to opportunity in America. The viewing statistics scrolled across news websites, 8.4 million viewers nationally. Trending #1 on social media across all platforms. In a small apartment far from the luxury he once knew, Dominic Ashworth watched alone. His restaurants had lost investors within weeks. Television networks removed him from judging panels. The social exile was complete and absolute. News headlines flashed on screen. Celebrity chef exposed for class prejudice. Michelin star restaurant owner loses everything after viral video. Ashworth Plaza had been renamed. The new owners issued statements distancing themselves from his abhorrent behavior. Even Gerald had released a carefully worded betrayal, claiming he'd objected privately to the treatment of Maya. The screen cut to Lincoln Center, where Maya Chen stood backstage in an elegant concert dress, her hair professionally styled, posture radiating hard-earned confidence. Dr. Vasquez adjusted Maya's collar with maternal care. In 6 months, she had become more than a vocal coach. She was mentor, advocate, guardian. She'd secured a full scholarship to Juilliard's vocal program, connected Maya with top agents, opened doors that had seemed permanently sealed. Youngest in her class, the documentary narrator explained. Carnegie Hall debut scheduled for next month. Metropolitan Opera Youth Program audition confirmed. But the documentary's impact extended far beyond Maya's personal success. Arts organizations nationwide had revised their outreach programs. Conservatories examined admission biases they'd long ignored. The Maya Chen Initiative provided scholarships for talented youth from disadvantaged backgrounds, hundreds of students who might otherwise never have been heard. Restaurant Week itself had changed. All future events now required actual youth performances and mentorship programs, not just charitable donations that salved wealthy consciences. Even Gerald had attempted redemption, starting a legitimate program matching talented young people with restaurant employment and culinary scholarships. Dr. Vasquez's voice played over footage of Maya rehearsing. I've trained opera stars and Broadway legends, but Maya taught me the most important lesson of my career. Talent doesn't announce itself with credentials or proper packaging. Sometimes it just stands in the rain, asking for a chance. A clip of Maya's interview appeared on screen, her composure remarkable for someone so young who'd endured so much. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone, she said quietly. I was documenting what happens every day to talented kids like me. Kids who are dismissed, ignored, or humiliated because they don't fit someone's expectation of what excellence should look like. Her mission statement was simple. If this documentary makes one person pause before judging, makes one organization change their practices, it's worth every difficult moment. The YouTube channel Voices They Ignore had exploded to 12 million subscribers, becoming a platform for undiscovered talent nationwide. Dozens of young artists, singers, musicians, dancers, poets had found exposure and opportunity through Maya's project. The scene shifted to Lincoln Center's packed auditorium. The camera panned across an audience that looked different from typical opera crowds. Wealthy patrons sat beside scholarship students from every background imaginable, united by appreciation for artistry over appearance. Dr. Vasquez sat front row, tears already streaming down her face before Maya even began. In his apartment, Dominic watched Maya take the stage, the same girl he'd mocked, humiliated, used for entertainment. The broken man was learning too late that dignity has nothing to do with status and everything to do with how we treat others when we think no one important is watching. Maya opened her mouth, and Nessun Dorma filled Lincoln Center once more. Perfect, powerful, triumphant. Not a plea for food this time, but a declaration that talent, perseverance, and truth would always find their voice. The final note sustained, pure and unwavering, as text appeared on screen. Music speaks truth. The question is, are you listening? A final message faded in. Subscribe to see more stories of extraordinary talent overcoming prejudice and learn how you can support young artists in your community. The screen went black, leaving only the echo of a voice that refused to be silenced.